Alright, our last one that we're going to do is a cast shadow for a sphere. So here's my sphere, ground, my light source. I'm going to put it up as high as I can so my cast shadow isn't too long. A. I'm going to bring B to right there. B. Okay, so everything else that we've done has had a flat surface on the ground. Our sphere is not sitting flat on the ground because it doesn't have any flat edges. It's a sphere. It continuously curves no matter where you look at it. So I can consider, first of all, that my ground hits my sphere in a little tangent point, right? So that's like the very bottom of my sphere sitting on the ground. I need to figure out the widest points on my sphere because that's where my light is going to start going past, and that's essentially what will dictate the edge, the boundaries of my cast shadow. So the easiest way to do this is, visually looking, I can also draw that box that we talked about in class around my sphere. So if I find the lowest point where it's sitting here on the ground, do a horizontal across the top so they're parallel. Give myself a vertical so it just touches on the outermost edge, a vertical so it just touches on that outermost edge. And that gives me a little indicator of like where my sphere exists and what it's sitting inside of. So here's the lowest point, here's the highest point, furthest to the right, furthest to the left. So I want to keep those in mind. Now I'm going to give my paper its little rays of sun. So the sun coming from up in the sky, it's obviously going to cross over the highest point. So we're going to do a sun ray from A through there, going down. We have a sun ray going past the left-hand side. So it's going to go past like right there. Line it up. And then I have one going across the right-hand side from A. And these are my sun rays coming down and around my sphere. So crossing over the top, crossing over the right, crossing over the left. I have to do the same thing with B, only where my points correspond on the ground. So I have to think about like where is the boundary of this sun ray vertically, where is it on the ground? So I'm going to bring B through the vertical corresponding points. The same thing we've been doing, like the center of the cone, finding the vertical corresponding spot on the edge of the cylinder. And the cube is very easy because it's all vertical and horizontal edges. So I'm going to bring B through here. I have an intersection right here. I'm going to bring B through the bottom and the middle because they're vertically related. I have an intersection right here. And I'm going to bring B through the bottom right. I have an intersection right here. And then again I have the bottom of my sphere. So to make drawing my ellipse a little bit easier, I'm just going to give myself really light straight lines and connect these points. So I'll end up with like a little diamond. Maybe not a diamond, some kind of weird polygon. And I'm going to fit my ellipse within here. So these two are really long, these are pretty short. These two are within acute angles. This has a very obtuse angle. This would have been a very obtuse angle if anything met up with it. If that confuses you, you can disregard it. But essentially my ellipse is going to cross over this point. It's going to have a really, really wide curve. It's going to hit that. I can go beyond this, I just cannot go outside of this line, and I cannot go outside of this line, because those are my boundaries on the ground. My cast shadow would not be outside of those edges. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, I'm going to have a really tight curve, and hit right here, so I have to hit that point. This is going to curve down. It's going to go through that point, and then this is going to come to kind of the same curve that is over here, we want to match that curve because we're doing an ellipse. So we're going to make our ellipse actually a little bit thinner. I actually brought it down too far. So we're going to thin it out. Just curves around this way, hits there, comes up around, and is elongated that way. And then there's our ellipse for our cast shadow for a sphere. So I'll color it in. Really, really dark right underneath my sphere. And then it'll start to fade itself away from my reflected light on those outer edges, just like we talked about. Okay, and there's my cast shadow for my sphere. Just clean this up.